Página 101. Opening remarks at the first intercontinental encuentro for humanity and against neoliberalism. July 27, 1996. Aguascalientes 2, Oventic, San Andrés Sacamachén de los Pobres, Chiapas, México. Brothers and sisters of Asia, Africa, Oceania, Europe, and America, welcome to the mountains of the Mexican Southeast. Let us introduce ourselves. We are the Zapatista National Liberation Army. For 10 years, we lived in these mountains, preparing to fight a war. In these mountains, we built an army. Below, in the cities and plantations, we did not exist. Our lives were worth less than those of machines or animals. We were like stones, like weeds in the road. We were silenced. We were faceless. We were nameless. We had no future. We did not exist. For the powers that be know internationally by the term neoliberalism, we did not count, we did not produce, we did not buy, we did not sell. We were a cipher in the accounts of big capitals. Then we went to the mountains to find ourselves and see if we could ease the pain of being forgotten like stones and weeds. Here, in the mountains of the Mexican Southeast, our dead live on. Our dead will live in the mountains, know many things. They speak to us of their dead, and we hear them. Coffins speaks and tell us another story that comes from yesterday and points to tomorrow. The mountains spoke to us, the Masewalop. We common and ordinary people. We are simple people, as power tell us. Every day and the next night, power wants us to dance the ex-doll and repeat this brutal conquest. The Castzul, the false man, rules our lands and has giant war machines, like the Bob, half puma and half horse, that spread pain and death among us. The strikers government sent us the alu shop. The liars will follow our people and make them forgetful. This is why we became soldiers. This is why we remain soldiers. Because we want no more death and trickery for our people. Because we want no more forgetting. The mountain told us to take up arms, so we would have a voice. It told us to cover our face, so we will have a face. It told us to forget our names, so we could be named. It told us to protect our past, so we will have a future. In the mountains the dead live, our dead. With them live in the Bhutan and the Ikal, the light and the darkness, the wet and the dry, the hurt and the wind, the rain and the fire. The mountain is the home of the Halak Winnik, the real human being, the big chief. Here we learn and remember that we are what we are, the real men and women. So, with our voices strengthening our hands, with our face reborn, with our name renamed, our yesterday at the center of the 4 points of Chan Santa Cruz in Balamna, the star was born with the finished humanity and remind us that there are 5 parts that make up the world. In the season when the Chakop ride is spreading the rain, We came down once more to speak with our own and prepare the storm that will signal the harvest. We brought forth the war in the year zero, and we began to walk this path that has brought us to your hearts, and today brings you to ours. This is where we are, the Zapatista National Liberation Army, the voice that arms itself to be heard, the face that hides itself to be seen, the name that hides itself to be named. The red star would call out to humanity and the world to be heard, to be seen, to be named, the tomorrow to be harvested in the past. Behind our black mask, behind our armed voice, behind our unnameable name, behind us, who you see, behind us, we are you. Behind we are the same simple and ordinary men and women. We are repeating in all races, painted in all colors, speak in all language, and live in all places. The same forgotten men and women, the same excluded, the same untolerated, the same persecuted. We are you. Behind us, you are us. Behind our mask is the face of all excluded women, of all the forgotten indigenous, of all the persecuted homosexuals, of all the despised youth, of all the beaten migrants, of all those imprisoned for their words and thoughts, of all the humiliated workers, of all those dead from neglect, of all the simple and ordinary men and women. We don't count, who aren't seen, who are nameless, who have no tomorrow. Brothers and sisters, we have invited you to this meeting to seek for and find yourselves and us. You have all touched our hearts, and you can see we are not special. You can see we are simple and ordinary men and women. You can see we are the rebellious mirror that wants to be a pane of glass and break. You can see we are who we are, so we can stop being, so we are to become the you, who we are. We are the Zapatistas. We invited you for all of us to hear ourselves and speak to ourselves, to see all that we are. Brothers and sisters, in these mountains the talking coffin spoke to us and told us ancient stories that recalls our pain and our rebellions. Our dreams will not end as long as we live. We will not give up our banner. Our dead will live on forever. So say the mountains that speak to us. So say the stars that shine in Santa Cruz. So tells the star that the Khrushchev, the rebels, will not be defeated and will continue on their road alongside everyone in the human constellation, that the red people, the Chachacmac, will always come, the red star that will help the world be free. So say the star that is the mountain, that a people were 5 peoples, that a people were a star of all people, that the people were humanity and are all the world's people. They will come to aid the world who become human in their struggle. So the true men and women live without pain, and the hearts of stone be softened. You are all the Chachacmac, the people who come to help the man who becomes 5 throughout the world, among all peoples, in all nations. You are all the red star were mirrored in us. We can continue on the right path if we, that you who are us, walk together. Brothers and sisters, among our peoples, the oldest sages have put across that this star where the water, the giver of life, is born. Thus, a star marks the beginning of life in the mountains. Thus are born the arroyos that come down from the mountain and carry the voice of the speaking star of our Chan Santa Cruz. The voice of the mountain has spoken, and it has said that true men and women will live free when they commit to the 5-point stars. When the 5 peoples become one in the stars, when the 5 parts of humanity who are the world find themselves and find each other. When all 5 find their place and each other's place. Today, thousands of different roads come from the 5 continents to meet here, in the mountains of the Mexican Southeast, to join their steps. Today, thousands of words from the 5 continents are silent here, in the mountains of the Mexican Southeast, to hear each other and hear themselves. Today, thousands of struggles from the 5 continents struggle here in the mountains of the Mexican Southeast for life and against death. Today, thousands of colors from the 5 continents are painted here in the mountains of the Mexican Southeast to announce a future of inclusion and tolerance. Today, thousands of hearts from the 5 continents are alive here in the mountains of the Mexican Southeast for humanity and against neoliberalism. Today, thousands of human beings from the 5 continents shout, "Enough is enough." Here, in the mountains of the Mexican Southeast, they shout, "Enough is enough," to conformity, to doing nothing, to cynicism, to egoism, to the modern God. Today, thousands of small words from the 5 continents are attempting a beginning here in the mountains of the Mexican Southeast, a beginning to building a new and good world, that is, a world where all worlds fit. Today, thousands of men and women of the 5 continents begin here in the mountains of the Mexican Southeast, the first intercontinental encounter for humanity and against neoliberalism. Brothers and sisters of the whole world, welcome to the mountains of the Mexican Southeast. Welcome to this corner of the world where we are all the same because we are different. Welcome to the search for life and the struggle against death. Welcome to the first intercontinental encounter for humanity and against neoliberalism. Democracy, freedom, justice. From the mountains of the Mexican Southeast, the Indigenous Clandestine Revolutionary Committee, General Command of the Zapatista National Liberation Army, Planet Earth. Segunda parte, este es de la página 280. Among these papers, there is one that asks what the Zapatists want. It maintains that a lot of information has been manipulated by the media, distorting what is happening here and the path that moves and inspires us. This is the month of August, and for us, it's also the month of memory. So I will try to respond a bit to the question, what do the Zapatists want? Now, it's not going to be easy for the media to understand us. For some strange reason, the Zapatist speaks to the future. I mean, our words don't fit in the present. but are made to fit into the puzzle that is yet to be finished. Therefore, patience is a guerrilla virtue. It was 15 years ago that I first came to these mountains. It was then, in one of the guerrilla camps, that I was told a history at dawn, as was mandated, of 15 years before. In this August that saw us, 30 years will have gone by. Now I will tell it to you just as it comes back to me. Perhaps it won't be in exactly the same words, but I am sure it will be in the same spirit as that of the man who related it to me. Between jokes about my pathetic appearance and the cloth pants I was wearing, when he welcomed to me to the Zapatist National Liberation Army to plant the tree of tomorrow. There is a story told that in a southern town, men and women toiled away at their work to survive. Every day the men and the women went out to their respective jobs. The men to the corn and bean fields, the women to fetch firewood and water. Sometimes there was work that brought them together as equals. For example, men and women will join together to harvest the coffee when its time had come, and so things went. But there was one man who didn't live like that. He worked all right, but not in the corn and bean fields, or on the coffee plantation when the beans reddened among their branches. No, this man working planting trees on the mountain. The trees this man planted would not grow fast. Each one took entire decades to grow and sent out all its branches and leaves. The other men laughed at this man and found no little fault with him. Why work for things you will never see finished? It's better to work in the fields to get you a crop in a few months instead of planting trees that will only be grown after you are already dead. You are a fool or crazy because you work for nothing. The man defended himself, saying, "Yes, it's true. I won't see these trees full of branch, leaves, and birds, nor will my eyes see children playing under their shade. But if all of us work for just the present day and the day after that, we will plant the trees our descendants are going to need to have shelter, comfort, and joy." No one understood him. The crazy man, or fool, kept planting trees he would never see full grow. Unsensible men and women keep planting and working for the present. Time passed, and they all die, and their children carried on their work, and they were followed by the children of their children. One morning, a group of boys and girls went out for a walk and found a place filled with huge trees, with 1,000 birds living in them, and their great branches giving shade from the heat and shelter from the rain. Indeed, they found an entirely mountain dancing with trees. The boys and girls went back to the town, speaking for the marvelous place. The men and women gathered together and went there and were filled with wonder. "Who planted this?" they asked. Nobody knew. They asked their elders, and they didn't know either. Only one old one, the oldest in that community, could give them the information. And he told them the story of the crazy man and fool. The men and women assembled and had a discussion. They saw and understood the man who their ancestors had dealt with so harshly, and they admired that man very much and were fond of him. They knew that memory can travel very far and arrive where no one can guess. The men and women of that day went to the plazas of the great priests. They made a circle around one great tree in the middle of the grove and put a sign in the colored letters. There they held a fiesta. Dawn was already approaching when the last dancers were leaving to go to sleep. The great forest was left alone in silence. It raining. When the skies cleared, the moon came out, and the Milky Way's reshaped, twisting body one more time. Suddenly, a ray of moonlight insinuated itself among the great branches and leaves of the tree in the middle, and by its faint light you could read the sign of colors that had been left there. To the first ones, those who came later understood, held you. What I am recounting to you was told to me 15 years ago, and 15 years had gone by when that day told me had come to pass. And yes, perhaps it is pointless to say it in words because we say it with deeds. But still, those we came later did understand. And if I am telling you this is a story, this story, it is not just to give our regards to the first ones, nor is it just to make you a gift of a little piece of that memory that seems lost and forgotten. No, not just for those things, but also to try to answer the question of what the Zapatistas want. To plant the tree of tomorrow. That is what we want. We know that in these frantic times of realistic politics, of fallen banners, of poor substituting for democracy, of neoliberal criminals who call for crusades against what they are hiding and what feeds them, of chameleon-like metamorphosis, saying we want to plant the tree of tomorrow sounds foolish and crazy, but nevertheless, to us, is not a phrase born of a drama or obsolete utopianism. We know all that, and nevertheless, that is what we want. That is what we are doing. How many people in the world that make up the world can say as we do, that they are doing what they want to? We think there are many, that the worlds of the world are filled with crazy and foolish people, each planting their trees for each of their tomorrows. And that day will come when this mountainside of the universe that some call planet Earth will be filled with trees of all colors. And there will be so many birds and comforts that, yes, it's likely no one will remember the first one, because all the yesterdays which vex us today will be no more than an old page in the old book of the old history. The tree of tomorrow is a space where everyone is, where the other knows and respects the other others, and where the false light loses its last battle. If you press me to precise, I would tell you it's a place with democracy, liberty, and justice. That is the tree of tomorrow. This is what the Zapatistas want. It might seem I've been vague in my answer, but I haven't. I have never spoken so clearly before. In any case, times will come in which these words will fit, and together their embrace will expand, and they'll be heard and guarded, and they'll grow. That is what the words are for, and yes, also those we go speak them. Página 166. Why we use the weapon of resistance. October 1999. I would like to thank those who were in charge of the Alicia Multiforum for the invitation they extended to us to participate in this round table. I don't have much experience in round tables. Square tables are more our specialty. Like the table, most certainly, where those we are accompanying the Sacs are city. Sac de la Rocha, Yaotl, Herman Bellinghausen, Nacho Pineda, a compa from the punk anarchist collective, and Javier Elorriaga. What's more, it's quite like that the participants at this roundtable table that is not round are seated on a small platform. Furthermore, perhaps there is not even a table, but only a few chairs. Perhaps the only one who has a table is me, because they have to put the TV on something in order to show you this video. I am not going to talk to you about underground culture, nor about the culture of resistance, nor about the bridge that most certainly joins them. Besides leaving said topic to those who accompany us at this table, that we are calling it round, even folk we know that is square. I will avoid making a fool of myself. I will be able to hide my encyclopedic ignorance on this subject. As the greatest and well-beloved Don Durito of de la Candona will say, no problem is too big that you cannot get around it. I will add to those wise words, which incites to action and to the commitment, nor is there a round table that is not square. I know that you are all anxious to know what in the hell I am going to talk about then. More than one of you might be asking if the guitar I have by my side means that I am going to play a song, one of those that are so notable played in the Mexico of below, which we all are. Did you know? We are fighters. We are fighters who are very others, but fighters nonetheless. And we fighters know a few things, and among the few things that we know about weapons. So, it is best that I talk to you about weapons. Especially, I am going to talk to you about the weapon of resistance. Besides being fighters, we are indigenous Mexicans. We live in the mountains of the Mexican Southeast, which is turning out to be the most distant corner of this country. We live like the majority of the indigenous in the Mexico live. That is, very badly. Our homes have dirt floors. Our walls are made from sticks or mud, and our roofs are tin, cardboard, or grass. A single room serves as a kitchen, dining room, bedroom, living room, and chicken coop. Basically, our food are maize, beans, chili, and the vegetables that grow in the milpa. For medicine, we have a popular pharmacy, small, and poorly stocked. Doctors? only in our dreams. When it is not occupied by the government soldiers, our school is a hall where up to four different groups of students gather at the same time. They are not very numerous because our children start working when they are very small. Sometime between 4 and 5 years of age, the girls start carrying wood, grinding maize, washing clothes, and taking care of their young brothers and sisters. Between the age of 10 and 12, the boys go to the mountain to care of the livestock, to carry wood, to work the milpa, the coffee plants, or the pasture. Our lands are poor in two senses. They are poor because they belong to us. We are poor as a matter of course, and they are poor because they yield little in the way of harvest. We have only mud and rocks. The ranchers have the good lands. The livestock and coffee that we sell to make money, we sell to the coyotes. Middlemen will pay us a little, as 10 times less than the price of our products in the market. So, our work, in addition to being hard, is badly paid. However, even folk we live like most of the indigenous population in the country, that is, in poverty, our lives are not the same. Our poverty is the same as the poverty of others, but it is also different. It is an other poverty. We are poor because that is what we have chosen. From the beginning of our uprising, they have offered us everything to get us to sell of ourselves, to surrender. If we had done so, if we had surrendered, if we had sold ourselves, we would now have a good houses, good school, hospitals, machinery for working the land, better price for our products, good food. We chose not to sell of ourselves. We chose not to surrender. Because it so happens that we are indigenous and we are also fighters. And fighters are fighters because they are fighting for something. And we, the Zapatistas, are fighting for good homes, good food, good health, a good price for our work, good lands, good education, respect for the culture, the right to information, liberty, independence, justice, democracy, and peace. Yes, we are fighting for all of that, but for everyone, not just for ourselves. That's why we Zapatistas are fighters, because we want for everyone everything, nothing for ourselves. If we had surrendered, if we had sold of ourselves, we would no longer have seen poor, but others would have continued to be so. Good, but you are asking yourselves, what is the weapon that this handsome, attractive, nice fighter was going to tell us about? I told you now. It happened that when they saw that we were not surrendering, that we are not selling ourselves, the government began attacking us in order to force us to surrender and to sell ourselves. They offered us many things, money, projects, aid, and when we rejected them, they became angry and threatened us. That is how we began to understand that by refusing to accept government aid, by resisting, we made the powerful angry. And there is nothing a Zapatista fighter likes more than making those in power angry. So, with singular joy, we dedicate ourselves to resisting, to saying no, to transforming our poverty into a weapon, the weapon of resistance. Almost 6 years of war have spoken about the power of this weapon. We have resisted more than 60,000 soldiers, war tanks, bomber aircraft, artillery helicopters, cannons, machine guns, bullets, and grenades. With it, we have resisted the lie. You would like me to sum it up? I will tell you that in the same way that we became soldiers, so that one day soldiers will not be longer be necessary, we also remain poor, so that one day there will no longer be poverty. It is for this that we use the weapon of resistance. Obviously, it is not the only weapon we have, as is clear from the metal that clothed us. We have other arms. For example, we have the arm of the word. We also have the weapon of our culture, of our being what we are. We have the weapon of music, the weapon of dance. We have the weapon of the mountain, that old friend and compañera who fights along with us, with her roads, hiding place, and hillsides, with her trees, with her rain, with her suns, with her downs, with her moons. We also have the weapons that we carry by nature, but it's not the time to be going around punning, much less now, when you've all become very serious. And in order to chase away your seriousness, I'm going to tell you a joke. Now, don't believe it or be frightened. I'm not going to tell you a joke. Better that we leave that to Cedillo, who as a president is nothing but a bad joke. Now, better I go on to the next issue that I am going to talk to you about. It is not just the Zapatistas who are fighters of resistance. There are many groups, and there are several gathered together here. We have also made a weapon of resistance, and they are using it. There are indigenous, there are workers, there are women, there are gays, there are lesbian, there are students, there are young people. Above all, there are young people, men and women, who name their own these identities: punk, ska, goth, metal, thrasher, rapper, hip-hopper, and etc. If we look at what they all have in common, we will see that they have nothing in common, that they are all different. They are the others. And that is exactly what we have in common, that we are other and different. Not only that, we also have in common that we are fighting in order to continue being other and different. And that is why we are resisting. And to those in power, we are other and different. In other words, we are not like they want us to be, but what we are. And what we are, far from wanting to impose its being to the other or different, seeks its own place, and at the same time a space to meet. The punks don't go around on campaign demanding to all young people be punks, nor do the ska, the goths, the metal, the thrasher, the rappers, and certainly not the indigenous. Nonetheless, powers does indeed want us to be how it wants us to be, to dress in the style it dictates, to talk the way he says we should talk, to eat what it shall, to consider beautiful and lovely what is considered beautiful and lovely. Power even wants us to love and hate the way it establishes love and hate should be. And not just that, power also wants us to do all this on our knees and in silence, without going around jumping, without shouts, without indigenous uprisings. Power wants us to be well mannered. That's why power has army and police, to force those who are other and different to be the same, identical. But the other and different are not looking for everyone to be like them. It is as if each one is saying, everyone should do their own thing. I don't know how that say these days. And in order for this to be possible, it is not enough just to be. You must be while respecting the other. The everyone doing his own thing is two things. It is an affirmation of difference, and it is respect for the other difference. When we say we are fighting for respect for our different and other selves, that includes fighting for respect for those who are also other and different, and who are not like ourselves. And it is here where is the entire resistance movement, call it underground or subterranean, because it takes place among those of below and underneath institutional movements, meets Zapatismo. And this meeting is a meeting between men and women fighters, among those who make resistance a weapon and who fight with it in order to be what they are, in order to exist. We Zapatistas say, I am as I am, and you are as you are. Let's build a world where I can be and not have to cease being me, where you can be and not have to cease being you, and where neither I nor you will force another to be like either me or you. So, when we Zapatistas say a world where many worlds fit, they are saying, more or less, everyone do your own thing. It turns out that we are the same because we are different, because we are the same persecuted, the same despised, the same beaten, the same imprisoned, the same disappeared, the same assassinated. And it is not our people who are persecuting, despising, beating, imprisoning, assassinating us. It's not even the others from below. It is power and its names. And our crimes are not stealing, beating, assassinating, insulting, nor is our crime being other and different. No, our crime is in being who we are and in being proud of it. Our crime, which in Power's penal code merits a death penalty, is the struggle we are making to continue being other and different. If we were other and different shamefully, in hiding, guiltily, betrayed by ourselves, trying to be or to be appear to be what power wants us to be or to appear to be, then they will give us an indulgent and pitying little pat and say to us, these things happen when you are young. You will get over them when you get older. For power, the cure for rebellion is time, but power neglects to say what lies behind the getting older, that it assumes will cure and do away with youthful rebellion. Hours, months, and years of blows, insults, jails, deaths, rapes, persecution, and neglect. A machinery working to cure us. if we stop being who we are and turn ourselves into beings, a machinery which will eliminate us if we insist on being who we are without the regard to a calendar dates on the birth certificate. And so we are all transgressors of the law, because this system has a law that kills and silences those who are other and different. And by living, by shouting, by talking, that's it, by being rebels, we are transgressing that law, and automatically we are criminals. And these criminals that we are, we live in a rebel reality where resistance is the bridge that allows us to meet, to recognize our difference and our equality. Rock is also like a bridge over which those reality walk in order to meet. In what way is rock a mirror and crystal for this very other and different reality? The truth is, I don't know, and I don't understand. I look at and listen to groups like Rage Against the Machine and Tijuana No, to mention just those who are participating in tomorrow's concert, but knowing that there are many others, and that all of them are good musicians and good human beings. And I ask myself, why do they do what they do, say what they say, and play what they play? I believe it would be better for them to tell us what goes on with them. Perhaps they too are asking themselves why we Zapatistas do what we do, say what we say, and play what we play. Although, when it comes to rock, we're finally useless. How about that? A good name for a group or for a song? Useless, just like that, with no qualifiers, so that everyone fits. Men, women, and those who are neither men nor women, but who are. Vale. Hell to you, and like it says in cover of that fanzine that is the good taste of call itself subterranean, what with so many things, something doesn't smell right, which means something like there are things and then there are things. Hail to you from the mountains of the Mexican Southeast, the Sub tuning up his guitar for a special appearance, Mexico, other and different. 3, página 76. What matters is our eldest elders who received the word in the silence as a gift in order to know themselves and to touch the heart of the other. Speaking and listening is how true men and women learn to walk. It is the word that gives form to the walk that goes on inside us. It is the word that is to bridge, the bridge to cross to the other side. Silence is what powers over our pain in order to make us small. When we are silenced, we remain very much alone. Speaking, we hold the pain. Speaking, we accompany one another. Power uses the word to impose his empires of silence. We use the word to renew ourselves. Power uses silence to hide his crimes. We use the silence to listen to one another, to touch one another, to know one another. This is the weapon, brothers and sisters. We say, the word remains. We speak the word. We shoot the word. We raise the word, and with it break the silence of our people. We kill the silence by leaving the word. Let us leave power alone in what the like speak and hushes. Let us join together in the word and the silence with liberated.